Hello and welcome back to Euro Football Daily, where today we are analysing the most overrated records in football history. Let's get started. 10. Most seasons in a top flight. Let's face it, Everton fans haven't had a lot to cheer about in recent years. Despite being majority owned by Iranian billionaire Farhad Moshiri and spending a net £191 million since the start of 16-17, £64 million more than Liverpool, their best league finish in that time remains 7th. And it's not like they've excelled in cup competitions either, failing to get past the 4th round of either domestic competition in their last 6 attempts. But they do hold one domestic record that is unlikely to be broken anytime soon: 116 top-flight seasons. Having had a scare this campaign after entering the relegation zone under Marco Silva, it looks unlikely that next best Aston Villa will be able to breach the 11-season gap anytime soon, especially with Carlo Ancelotti now in the Goodison dugout. But having won just 9 First Division titles, a figure topped by Man United, Liverpool and Arsenal, and having finished in the top 4 just twice since their mid-1980s heyday, there is no point being in the top flight unless you are going to do something with it. 9. Most passes in a season. Everyone knows how popular stats have become in recent years, with metrics like key passes, deep progressions and expected goals now commonplace. One increasingly popular statistic is passes per game, but it is far from perfect. It fails to reveal how easy the passes were, what direction they went in, or how much pressure the player was under. Everyone was amazed when Jorginho equalled the Premier League record for passes in a single game with 186 versus Newcastle in August 2018. But whilst Chelsea dominated possession with 81%, they only had 15 shots, with the Italian creating just one, and it took an 87th minute own goal to seal a 2-1 win. The fact that only 2 midfielders, Granit Xhaka in 17-18 and Jorginho in 18-19, have completed over 3,000 passes in a single Premier League season, in 2 campaigns in which they were both heavily criticised, tells you more about their individual style of play than their effectiveness as footballers. 8. Monthly awards. Whilst we at Football Daily are fans of the fact that Connor Wickham, Peter Odemwingie and Anton Ferdinand all have Player of the Month awards in their locker, the awards themselves are without doubt overrated. A run of 4 good performances in 1 month, whilst impressive, rarely means anything in the long term. Diafra Sakho won it in October 2014 after scoring in 6 straight games, but scored just 8 more goals in the 3 following seasons. Adam Lafondra scored 5 in January 2013 to take home the award, but within 18 months Reading were relegated. But perhaps that's the beauty of it. Anyone can win it, and the best generally do more often than not, with Aguero, Gerrard and Kane leading the standings. But with goalkeepers and defenders winning just 11% of the 237 awards to date, they are without doubt biased to certain positions. Manager of the Month awards are even more bizarre. Unsurprisingly, Sir Alex Ferguson has scooped the most with 27, but it's David Moyes rather than Mourinho, Guardiola, Klopp, Benitez, Pochettino or Dalglish that is third behind Arsene Wenger. The fact that 3-time Premier League winner Jose Mourinho is level with Alan Kirbishley and behind Gordon Strachan and most bizarrely Joe Kinnear with 3 shows you all you need to know about monthly awards. They are just a bit of fun that should be largely ignored. 7. Most career goals. No, we aren't going to go over that well-trodden ground of Pele's overinflated career goals tally of 1,281, but instead focus on the man who holds the official record for competitive goals, Joseph Bican. Bican, born into a life of poverty in Vienna, was a very talented athlete. Capable of running the 100 metres in 10.8 seconds, the striker was simply too much for most defences to handle. Having shone for clubs in Vienna, Bican left to join Slavia Prague in 1937. But whilst many of his contemporaries went off to fight in World War II, Bican refused to join the Nazi Party and continued to play football. Across the 8 seasons spanning 1937 to 1945, he racked up 328 goals, including 1 campaign in which he netted 57 in 26 matches. This unsurprisingly saw him win the European Golden Boot in 5 consecutive seasons between 1939 and 1944. Despite his principled morals, it is difficult to take his 805 goals in 530 matches seriously given the quality of opposition. And while some will argue this doesn't matter, it does. If it wasn't for Bican, Romario would be the all-time top scorer on 772 goals, just 29 ahead of Cristiano Ronaldo, meaning the 35-year-old would have an outside bet of breaking the record prior to his retirement. 6. Most Premier League appearances. There is a lot to be said for longevity. 3 of the 5 players at the top of the appearance rankings, Xavi, Roberto Carlos and Casillas, are some of the most talented and successful players in history. Being able to play at the top level for a very long time suggests a huge amount of skill and unrivaled fitness. But there is no guarantee that the best players always play for the longest amount of time. No one doubts Cantona's ability despite the Frenchman retiring at 30. The same goes for Platini and Van Basten for retiring at 31. And yet people obsess over the Premier League appearance record. The 13 players to have made over 500 Premier League appearances have won 30 titles between them. But when you take out Giggs' 13, Phil Neville's 6 and Rio Ferdinand's 5, that stands at just 6 between the remaining 10 players. Take the case of the record holder, with 653 appearances, Gareth Barry. Clearly a good player, capped 53 times by England, Barry only spent 4 seasons with the top 6 club and was never named in the PFA Team of the Year. Why does Barry hold the record? Because he was fit enough to play at least 30 games in 18 of his 22 top flight seasons. 5. Most consecutive Champions League victories. Real Madrid's record of 5 consecutive European Cups from 1955 to 1960 is unlikely to be topped. Whilst Ajax and Real Madrid might have won 3 in a row since, they not only had 2 of the best players in history in Johan Cruyff and Cristiano Ronaldo in their sides, but a fair amount of luck. How could the Real Madrid side of the 1950s have added a further 2 titles to their achievement? In short, because it was easier. Whilst we do not doubt the likes of Stefano, Puskas and Gento were world-class talents who could have excelled in any era, the fact is Los Blancos faced less competition. With the tournament starting in 1955, Real Madrid only had to play 7 games a season to win the competition. Across their 5 years they played 36 games, with 1 playoff game needed in 56-57, 3 fewer than Real Madrid played in the 3 years between 2016 and 2018. Throw in the fact that with tactics and preparation still comparatively basic, European travel a new concept, and it's clear that Real Madrid, with their superior players, were always going to prosper. 5 European Cups in a row is an overrated and likely unrepeatable achievement. 4. Longest goals. Everyone loves a long ranger. Rooney, Alonso, Beckham and further afield Hakan Çalhanoğlu and Dejan Stankovic, their names will be permanently intertwined with glorious distance strikes. But as soon as they are struck from over 60 metres, they become nothing more than a complete fluke. Take the Guinness World Record for the longest in history, Asmir Begovic's effort against Southampton. On the 2nd of November 2013, 17th place Stoke met high-flying Southampton, who despite being 6th were just 2 points off second. What played out was a fairly drab 1-0 win for the home side, with the only remarkable thing about it happening after just 13 seconds. After Southampton lost possession, the ball was passed back to Begovic, who punted the ball aimlessly upfield. The wind caught it and it bounced over the hapless, backpedalling Artur Buruc. The goal was recorded at 91.9 metres, over 300 foot, or the height of the Statue of Liberty, and in the process Begovic became the 5th goalkeeper to score in the Premier League. Did he mean it? Absolutely not. Was it mainly down to the famous Britannia wind? Yes. Is the record therefore overrated? Without a doubt. 3. Club transfer records. Ever since Neymar joined PSG on the 3rd of August 2017 for €222 million, club transfer records have been rendered obsolete. The previous record, Paul Pogba's £90 million return to Man United, has been beaten a further 5 times, and the records for goalkeepers and defenders have been completely dwarfed. In a post-Neymar world, clubs had to pay up to remain competitive. In the Premier League, 17 of the 20 clubs have broken their individual records since, with only United, Crystal Palace and Norwich proving an exception to the rule. And this is the same throughout Europe. Of the sides to qualify for this season's last 16 in the Champions League, only 2 of them, Leipzig and Napoli, have records that predate the Neymar deal. In a world in which transfer fees have become more and more extortionate, club records simply don't hold the same importance. The market needs a worldwide economic crisis to bring it back down to earth, something we might experience sooner rather than later. 2. Most Premier League promotions. There is nothing quite like the feeling of being promoted. A long hard season of slog with an inordinate amount of games in far-flung parts of the country, rewarded by finally securing an achievement years in the making. Many fans will argue that their happiest footballing memories are of promotion from the lower tiers, rather than mid-table mediocrity in the top. But the fact is that being promoted multiple times is not really a sign of long-term success, instead of not quite making the mark. 6 sides have been promoted into the Premier League 4 times, and bar Leicester City, who have finished in the top half 3 times in the last 5 years, and Crystal Palace, who have never once finished below 15th, they have pretty unexceptional Premier League records. Middlesbrough have spent one of the last 11 campaigns in the top tier, Norwich have never lasted more than 3 seasons, Sunderland scraped safety for years and are now in League One, and West Brom have only finished above 14th in 5 of their 12 Premier League campaigns. The record for most promotions isn't something to be celebrated, but rather acknowledged as a sign of not being quite up to scratch. 1. Champions League goal-scoring records. Hang on there, we aren't saying for a second that the achievements of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi in scoring a record 128 and 114 goals respectively isn't incredible. But it is their longevity in playing 34 Champions League campaigns between them, in an era where sides can play up to 13 games per season, which the duo have done a combined 9 times, coupled with their scoring records of 0.76 and 0.81 goals per game that have made them stand out. Di Stefano and Puskas, with their records of 0.84 and 0.85 goals per game in Europe, the best among the top 20 goalscorers, might well have got closer to them if they had played more than their 84 combined games, half that of Ronaldo alone. And what of the player who averaged 0.97 goals per game, the best record in European Cup history, Gerd Müller? Surely he could have scored more than his 34 goals in 35 games had he spent longer than 6 seasons playing in the competition. With their predecessors only able to play 7 games per season up until 1967, and 9 until the advent of the Champions League ahead of the 92-93 campaign, it seems unfair to compare the achievements of this generation with the last, as shown by the fact just 5 of the top 30 goalscorers operated prior to 1992. So guys, that was 10 of the most overrated football records. What did you guys think of the list? Did we miss any out? Did you think any of them shouldn't have been included? Let me know as ever in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to Euro Football Daily, and I'll see you next time. Ciao!